Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're getting into emotional mastery, specifically looking at the framework in Thibaut Meurisse's book, Master Your Emotions.
Yeah, it's quite popular.
Definitely. And this deep dive is really for you if you want some, actionable insights into why you feel what you feel and maybe what you can actually do about it. Pretty immediate stuff.
Good goal.
So we've got two main sources today. First, there's this really detailed book review. It breaks down the structure, the concepts, basically our theory guide.
Our cheat sheet?
Exactly. And second, we found this really lively community discussion online.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and it zeroes in on one specific point from the book that seems, well, pretty controversial. It shows where the theory kind of bumps up against real life.
Okay, so theory and reaction. Perfect. Okay. So our mission then is pretty clear. First, let's quickly pull out the book's main tools. The mechanics of how emotions actually get built up inside us, stuff you can use right away. And then we pivot. We need to unpack that surprising debate you mentioned. The whole self-reliance thing versus, well, our basic need for other people.
Looking for the tools and the context. Got it.
Precisely. Tools and context.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Starting with the basic structure of emotions. The reviewer really praised how the book simplifies something that feels honestly super complex most of the time. And the author starts by drawing this strong link between our sense of self, our ego, and our emotional responses.
Yeah, that's fundamental to his approach. And what really jumps out, and something the reviewer highlighted too, is this core idea that emotions themselves, they're just transient.
Transient, like weather.
Exactly like weather. They just pass through. So the real suffering in this view, it doesn't come from the feeling itself, but from how we interpret whatever triggered it, our story about it.
Okay, but let's get more specific. How does that intense feeling, the one that sticks around, actually get made? He gives a formula for it, right?
Yeah.
The reviewer called it a huge eye-opener.
He does. It's almost like an equation.
Yeah, break that down. It's like interpretation plus identification plus repetition equals strong emotion.
That's the one. Interpretation of an event or thought plus identification with it plus repetition. Boom. Strong emotion.
It sounds simple, though. I mean, isn't that just classic Stoicism kind of repackaged? What makes this actionable or new?
That's a fair question. Lots of philosophies talk about interpretation, changing your thoughts.
Right.
Where Meurisse adds a crucial layer, I think, is really drilling down on that second piece. Identification.
Okay. What does he mean by identification exactly?
It's when your ego grabs onto the feeling. It says, this sadness is me, or I am anxious, instead of just observing, sadness is passing through right now.
Okay. So it's like claiming ownership of the feeling.
Exactly. And once you claim it, once you say, I am this feeling, you've basically given it a permanent invitation to stay.
Right. You're feeding it.
You are. So the power in this book, the actionable part, comes from learning how to cut that link. Sever the identification. You shift your focus from battling the feeling itself to managing your relationship with the feeling. That's upstream.
That makes a lot more sense. If you wait until the emotion is huge and overwhelming, you're kind of fighting a losing battle. You need to intervene earlier, at the interpretation or identification stage.
Precisely. You're dealing with the cause, not just the symptom.
Okay, so before we get into actually using emotions, the book talks about physical stuff too, which sometimes feels a bit basic in self-help. But here, it seems foundational.
It really is foundational here. He's clear that mastering emotions isn't just some mental trick. It's deeply tied to, well, your body and your environment. Day-to-day living.
Like what specifically?
The real basics, actually. Sleep how much, how good, the food you eat, even your posture, the environment you spend time in, and critically, your breathing patterns and how much you move your body.
Okay, so it's connecting the mind and body very directly.
Absolutely. And think about it. You might not be able to instantly stop a negative thought spiral, right? That's hard.
Yeah, impossible sometimes.
But you can choose to take 3 deep breaths. You can choose to get up and walk around for 5 minutes. If you're constantly sleep deprived or eating junk, you're basically lowering your emotional defenses before the day even starts. Makes managing interpretation and identification way harder.
Okay, that sets up this really important rule he gives about not suppressing feelings. If emotions come from interpretation, why can't we just, decide not to feel them or push them down?
Well, he has this really vivid analogy for that. He says, emotions are energy in motion.
Right, I remember that quote.
But what happens when you prevent the energy from moving? It accumulates.
That image of blocked energy It's powerful.
Yeah.
What happens when it accumulates? What are the consequences?
Well, think of it like pressure building up. If
Right.
you don't let that energy flow, if you don't process it, it doesn't just vanish. It gets stored, often in the body.
Manifesting as.
Things like chronic stress, muscle tension, headaches, maybe even eventual emotional blow-ups because the pressure gets too much.
So suppressing is actually counterproductive.
Totally. And that's why he pivots right back to those physical levers like breathing. He suggests that conscious controlled breathing isn't about ignoring the emotion. It's about literally helping to move that stuck energy.
How does breathing do that physically?
Well, deep belly breathing, for instance, stimulates the vagus nerve. That's like the main brake pedal for your nervous system.
Ah, the parasympathetic system.
Exactly. So by consciously breathing deeply, you're actively telling your body, okay, the danger's past, you can calm down now. It's an active release strategy, not just ignoring it.
Okay. Active release, not suppression. Got it.
Mm.
Now, moving to the positive side. The reviewer really liked the part about using emotions as tools for growth.
Yes, this is the big reframe, isn't it? Taking these negative feelings that feel like burdens and turning them into useful information.
How does that work in practice?
It requires some active thinking. The author lists about 10 common negative emotions, things like resentment, fear, procrastination, worry.
The usual suspects.
The usual suspects, yeah. And he says, look at these not as obstacles, but as signals. Valuable messages trying to tell you something important about yourself, your needs, your boundaries.
So, like, if I'm feeling resentment, it's not just a bad feeling. It's maybe a signal that a boundary has been crossed or an expectation isn't being met.
Exactly. It's data. But you need a way to decode that data, right? It's not always obvious what the signal means.
So what's the tool for decoding? This needs to be practical.
He offers a set of simple, introspective questions. The idea is, when you feel one of these negative emotions pop up, you actually pause, maybe you jot these down and journal through them. Really dig in.
Okay, examples. What kind of questions?
Things like, what specific belief might be fueling this feeling? Or what am I trying to resist or avoid by feeling this way? Another good one is, what's one small action I could take right now to honor the message this emotion is sending?
Those force you to look inward instead of just blaming something external.
Precisely. It moves it from theory, reframe your emotions, to an actual step-by-step process you can follow. Find the root.
Okay, that's really useful detail. Now, let's make that sharp pivot we talked about.
Right, the community discussion.
Yeah. If the book's core is about mastering your inner world, building self-reliance, what about other people? Where do they fit in? This is where that online discussion got intense.
Okay, set the scene.
Well, the person who initially posted about the book included this very blunt sentiment, something about finding peace in solitude, maybe phrased quite aggressively, like dismissing the need for others entirely.
Like, forget everyone else, I just need me.
Something like that, yeah. And wow, did that spark a reaction, immediate pushback.
I can imagine. Because, while self-reliance is one thing, that kind of statement,
Yeah.
it hits a nerve. What was the main thrust of the pushback?
Well, many people felt it just completely missed the mark. They jumped right in emphasizing that humans are fundamentally social creatures. We're wired for connection.
The biological argument.
Exactly. And it wasn't just philosophical. One person brought up the classic no man is an island idea, but then immediately cited actual studies.
Oh, really? Linking what?
Linking lack of meaningful social connections to concrete health problems and even earlier mortality rates. You know, you can't just decide you don't need social bonds if your biology says otherwise.
That's a powerful counterpoint. What else came up?
Another commenter connected it back to the book's own ideas about the ego. They argued that saying we don't need people isn't strength. It's actually the ego talking.
How so?
The ego wanting to avoid vulnerability, maybe the pain or messiness that comes with relationships, wanting complete control, which connection inherently challenges.
Interesting. So isolation is an ego defense mechanism.
Yeah. And then someone else brought in the evolutionary perspective, just flat out. Humans are social animals. Our brains evolved in tribes. Taking away connection creates stress, not necessarily peace.
Okay, so strong arguments for our innate social needs. But you said some people defended the book's idea. How did they square that circle?
Yeah, there were voices trying to bridge the gap. They suggested that maybe the blunt forget people sentiment was just a poor summary or a misunderstanding of the book's actual point.
So what was the intended point, according to them?
They argued it wasn't about advocating for, like, total hermit-like isolation. It was about learning to defeat something specific. Codependency.
Oh, okay. That's different.
Right. The goal isn't to not need people, but to learn how to nurture yourself first.
Yeah.
To build your own inner foundation so your sense of worth and stability doesn't depend entirely on external validation or specific relationships.
So, tending to yourself first so you can connect healthily.
That seemed to be the synthesis. It raises that key question. Is the author really saying isolate yourself? Or is he targeting that trap of needing others to define your identity, that ego need again, rather than genuine, healthy connection? The idea seemed to be more about achieving self-love and self-sufficiency before, or maybe as you engage with others, so the connections are healthier, less needy.
That makes more sense contextually.
Mm.
It gives you a chance to step back, look at your relationships, and ask, where am I depending on others in maybe an unhealthy way?
Right.
And if you tie that back to the whole book, it really positions it as a good starting point, doesn't it? It offers these, pretty easy to grasp ideas like the emotion formula,
Yeah.
some actionable tools.
Yet without getting bogged down in super complex psychology.
Exactly. Gives you tools to analyze your feelings and maybe your dependencies in a manageable way.
So let's try and wrap this up. What are the big takeaways here?
Well, the core mechanics seem solid. Strong emotions often follow that formula. Interpretation plus identification plus repetition.
And crucially, suppressing the energy in motion just makes things worse. It accumulates.
Right. Active release, not suppression. But then there's the solitude piece.
Yeah. Which needs nuance. Big time. Separating healthy self-reliance and defeating codependency from denying our basic biological need for connection seems absolutely critical.
Couldn't agree more. Isolation isn't the goal. Healthy interdependence built on a strong internal foundation might be closer to it.
Okay, so as a final thought for everyone listening, something to chew on, one of the people in that discussion brought up a quote from C.G. Jung. It feels like a really good synthesis of all this mastering the tools, but staying human.
Oh. What is the quote?
Know all the theories, master all the techniques, but as you touch a human soul, be just another human soul.